Hi, folks. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We're going to get the panel started now. This is the Retro Reimagined, Monetizing the Future of Interactive TV. My name's Andy Beach. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Media and Entertainment at Microsoft. And it's been my pleasure to work on the demo that we have in the Capitalized Zone, Beat the BUZZR. And I've worked with all the kind folks that are up here joining me as part of this. We're going to take a minute, sort of introduce everybody on the panel. I'll describe a little bit about what the demo is, and then we're going to talk about how we brought it to life as a group. So with that, Mr. Rick, please introduce yourself. What do you do? Where are you?
Thank you, Andy. I'm here at NAB. My name is Rick Champagne. I'm the Director of Global Media and Entertainment Industry Marketing Strategy at NVIDIA. And I'm just really excited about this project and working with the team. And yeah, looking forward to the discussion.
My name is Ramki. I'm the founder CEO of Prime Focus Technologies. Happy to be working at the Beat the BUZZR, putting the story together. And we'll probably talk more about this later.
Hi, I'm Laura Florence. I run Global Channels for Fremantle. That's essentially TV in any form. And this has been a really exciting project. Excited to talk about it.
Hi, Mark Moeder, President of SymphonyAI Media. Proud to be a partner, proud to be up here on stage with all of these folks, and looking forward to a good conversation.
My name is Cory Zachman, and I lead the engineering team at MediaKind. MediaKind's a video technology company building streaming workflows in the cloud for content owners and sports leagues kind of all around the world.
Awesome. And so it was these partners and many more. I want to give a big shout out to Allison Smith, who did all the interactive work and really the lion's share of really pulling it together and keeping me honest on timelines, because I have a loose sense of deadlines when they come together. And so I really appreciate all the work that Patricia and everybody there did as part of that. So Beat the BUZZR started life really at NAB last year. We were sitting around. The best conversations obviously happen at night. We were having a couple of drinks, and we were thinking about all the interactive technology that we have, particularly around gaming and other elements at Microsoft. We were thinking about all this new generative AI. It was a very new conversation then. And there were some strikes that were looming, and we were really thinking, like, how do we go leverage back catalog content? How do we put something together that does this? So we began a conversation all around without even hadn't met Laura, hadn't talked to any of the partners really at that point, but it was really, how do we go put together an ecosystem and a platform that delivers an interactive experience, but then also justifies itself by having the monetization and the other elements that are going to make it really attractive from an ROI perspective. And so that's where it started life, really was this notion of, and it was also kind of like, we wanted to recreate pop-up videos. We wanted to make that sort of interactive, but actually give an app aspect to it as well. So I think, Laura, I'm going to start with you, because without you, it's good that you're in the dead center, because without this, we wouldn't be up here talking about it. We'd be looking at Big Buck Bunny or some other fake content running through it. So I pitched it to you, and I talked to a lot of other content makers about this, and I told you, like, you were sort of the 12th one I knocked on the door and presented it to, and about halfway through, you were like, shut up, we're doing it. So where was your vision on this?
So before I started at Fremantle last July, I was the GM of Redbox and Crackle. And so we built fast AVOD, TVOD from scratch, right? And so ground up build. And so kind of seeing it from how customers are consuming what we call the new version of linear and ad-supported content, came over to join Fremantle Global Channels and help them create an infrastructure from they're a 100-year-old production company. They own 300 plus production companies all over the world. We have a global distribution sales team, but content had never really been centralized. We'd always been producing content for our broadcast partners. So now we have this treasure trove of all of this classic content. Wasn't digitized, right? There is no tech stack that really is centralized that hosts it all. So we have a litany of problems, right? But we're best in class at game shows. Price is Right, Family Feud, Let's Make a Deal, the American Idol, America's Got Talent. It's awesome, right? And we're still producing this content today. So I said, listen, if I was to be the best in class at this new digital experience that is fast. How do I take all my best content, which I own in perpetuity, like worldwide, a lot of this for the back catalog, and what can I do to make it special? So game shows, entertainment shows like Baywatch, or cooking shows, they're all gamifiable, right? And so we have 3 boys at home, and they are very into that gaming experience, Roblox, Minecraft. And so as we really started to look, our team, we can look at e-commerce, but gaming is inherent to this lean-in experience with game shows. And so we have a DigiNet as well, BUZZR. 96% of people played along. They were hyper engaged fans, like the premium fan. They watched 3 times as long as any other network. And we're like, how can we give them more to make old content feel new? So we tested all these other, like trying to work with partners to figure out a solution, but it wasn't the solution. And then Andy comes with a 3-pronged solution, right? And that is a gamified platform that creates community, but can monetize, can keep customers and engage and create new ones. So you were the solution I was looking for, and it dropped in my lap 6 months into working here. So it was an exciting way to, I think, here are all our problems. We need higher res content. We need it to be gamified. We need it to look fresh. How can we do that? So I kind of like handed the baton off to you. You're off running.
It's back. So Ramki, I think really I'd like to sort of talk to you next because Laura said it right there, like the back catalogs often exist as these static archives that are dusty and tapes that are in a janitor's closet and we don't know where they are. I've been working with you around active archive scenarios, and it's sort of the lifeblood, one of the starting points of you have to know what you have and you have to have rich data about it. And then you can go build the applications and solutions on it. So you're sort of that next leg of it. So what is Prime Focus doing and focusing on in this space? And what's the value you've seen in bringing that sort of metadata to life so that the content owners can create compelling stories, whether they're interactive or not?
Yeah, thank you, Andy. And I think when we've looked at AI and the utility of AI across the content value chain, and reimagining everything that we do. The power of AI, we were constantly looking at sort of applications as to where it brings the best utility. And, we worked with Andy very closely with this theory of converting passive archives into active libraries. So essentially, as you use AI to, organize the library, a lot of archives are not very well organized. Some of them are standalone files. Some of them are physical in tapes. Some of them are stored under an asset management system, and some of them have more sophisticated metadata. You have content and content types of all forms that customers have. We started to say, okay, we could organize them very well. We could find out duplicates. We can dedupe them. We can create a more organized library ready to use. And so that sort of really was one of the areas that we started. And then now that you organized your libraries, we thought we could kind of, make it smarter by adding metadata to content. And then we looked at a cross-section of metadata that can make it useful and kind of really provide and make it a big deal then, so that it's real leverage. So starting from being able to kind of, automatically extract, time-coded segments and sort of, get your skip intro and all of those types of, or add markers and sort of very, useful metadata for downstream consumption, we were able to extract that out of the content. And then one of the pillars of this entire endeavor is the deep metadata that we are able to sort of, add to that content and how you will exploit that metadata, in a whole bunch of downstream content. And, one of the big things that we're working with Microsoft very closely is this notion of what we call content highlights. And how do you use this deep metadata and metadata kind of, being able to not just sort of add metadata, but being able to organize it, have different compilations, that we could use, get different topics of interest, key dialogues, key moments, and some very interesting, useful metadata off of that content. And from there, we built that meta layer to kind of construct and kind of, do scene uplifts, be able to kind of, create shortened versions of content, digital shorts, topical ones, and so on and so forth. As you create, a numerous possibilities of, reusing that content and create new stories. And so if you want to go on the fast channel, you probably, want to reduce that to maybe 15-minute or 12-minute segments and the ability to produce this. Social monetization is a huge place where we've been able to leverage this, where we've been able to kind of take, and especially if you have soaps, thousands of episodes, in a series, and your ability to kind of be able to kind of, get 4 to 5 minutes worth of content, 5 to 7 minutes worth of content, and produce these clips super fast at very little human oversight. Of course, all of these are co-pilot activities. It's not like, we're spitting it out dynamically, but we're doing some things that ordinarily wouldn't have been possible without the use of AI. And we have good examples where customers, are today driving a cross-section of new content on their social channels, monetizing it, many times over their regular revenue that was coming from those channels at probably a fraction of the cost that they would otherwise have sort of spent. And so, we are super excited with this transition of passive archives into active libraries and the leverage of AI for monetization. So, when I explain this, it's all about what we call as where content meets revenue. And that's really, I think, the possibilities that opens up in this context.
And just to add real world context, we have people all over the world doing this manually, right? And I think with a synergistic workflow, we also don't know all the problems we need to solve. So that metadata is never pulled just once. It's pulled multiple times. So these dynamic solutions like this provide us, going into a programmatic ad stack, you need to deliver a very dynamic amount of metadata, but that metadata can be used for so many applications. So this was like a perfect example of we're doing it. It's not, it can't be done, but we can't do it at scale. We can't do it quickly.
It's the scale factor. You need the automation, machine learning, and AI to bring scale, because you can't hire enough people to do it in a costly way.
Yeah, maybe I can add a little bit. Like, content has a set value too, and some of that value might not be enough to have people manually doing this work.
Right.
But if we have workflows and automation to convert that content from lower resolution content to higher resolution content, to make it available to add to fast channels, to TV platforms, ecosystems, you can then monetize it in the way that makes sense for that piece of content. Yes, your highest value content you can monetize, with bodies, but your lower value content, you need an automated workflow to do it.
No, absolutely. And particularly when you start to look at maybe it's high value in one region, but you can localize it and take it into another region and pick up spare change, basically cash that you weren't expecting to get because you had low-hanging fruit and ability to repurpose.
And our biggest challenge right now is as you build the P&L in a catalog window, you're kind of at the end of the life cycle, right? And if you don't think about this holistically, we can't spend a ton to get this ready. And then it becomes, then we just don't do it.
Right.
But for the first time in my 20-year career, it seems achievable to do it at scale and at cost where we can recoup, because now we're also sending these things globally, right? So we have Baywatch in 26 territories. I can send a feed to Canada, the UK, and Australia that's in the US, and it can monetize. So I think we're right there at the tipping point. I think it's just the supply chain of how and what's needed.
Rick, I want to pick on you for a second because, NVIDIA is super crucial for this. We've said AI probably 300 times in the last 10 minutes, and there's only so much I can do without a GPU or without the SDKs that you bring. And as a dovetail, one more anecdotal piece, another one of the partners that were key in this, and really last minute, was we worked with the content in small windows for quite a while. And the first time we looked at it on the big screen about 3 weeks ago, we were like, ooh, this looks worse than we thought it did. It was old content. These are game shows from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And sometimes the practices weren't great at how they were archived and stored or how they were up-resed. And so there was a lot of artifacts that were burned into it. And so we reached out to Cinefilm, who's been a great partner both with Azure, working on-prem, and are built completely on NVIDIA. And they helped up-res the original SD masters to 4K. And we were phenomenal. We were so pleased with the result. And they work inside of MAM solutions like PFT, so it doesn't have to be a round trip where it's outside. They're a part of the feature stack in how it works. So that's a long intro to say another great partner that's involved, but they couldn't do it without NVIDIA as part of this. And NVIDIA is a core partner with Microsoft and Azure, what are some of the elements across the life cycle and the tool chain here that you think about from a media perspective when we talk about archive content?
Yeah, and so I'll just start with the fact that NVIDIA is fundamentally an accelerated computing company. So we look at the entire stack. We don't just look at GPUs, because to get the sort of acceleration that we're getting now is it has to be the software and the hardware coming together. It's the whole ecosystem. It's the networking. It's the systems. It's everything that we're doing with Azure. And so we've been an accelerated computing for that entire time. We came out with something called CUDA back in the early 2000s. And then 2012 was that seminal moment when AlexNet met CUDA. And that created a new wave of AI. And our CEO saw a vision as well for the future of the company in this space and has been investing in it significantly. Fast forward, he hand-delivered the first DGX-1 supercomputer to OpenAI back in 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. And then, of course, the release of ChatGPT happened maybe 5 years after that or so. And so that was the AI that was heard all around the world. And that's what we were talking about last year at NAB. This was a big moment. And everyone was trying to figure out their strategies. What does this mean for us? How is the landscape changing? How can we leverage this? At this NAB, which is really fascinating, is you go around, there's AI everywhere. And people have come to the next phase, which is not just about what does this mean for us, but this is an additive technology. How can this help us monetize in new ways? And so that's something that we're really focused on as well. And Beat the Buzzer is an excellent example. And the joy, I've taken people to play the game, and the joy that they get interacting with the content like that is on another level as well, right? And so
the nostalgia part just can't be underscored. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and so we've been building systems. We've been working with the Microsoft Azure team, of course, and we have all these inference platforms. Something like 80% of the internet's traffic is video now. So that's really important to us. So we have this L4 inference system that we have in Azure, and so that is for video AI. We have the L40 and L40S for graphics AI. We have the H100. Now you're talking about recommender systems. You're talking about large language models and that sort of thing. And so all of these pieces coming together, recommenders, data science, generative AI, leads to new things, speech AI to monetizing content in new ways. And so we're actively involved in all of that. We have, you mentioned the upres. We have this tool set called NVIDIA Maxine, so cloud native microservices, and we just announced NIMS, NVIDIA Inference Microservices that Microsoft will be supporting when the Grace Blackwell system comes out. But this was developed for video conferencing to clean up fumes of video of people joining video conferences and making it better, making the upresing, denoising, compression, de-artifacting. That's all live technology. It's live AI. And so now you look at content archives and the possibility for doing that at runtime. So play that old video that's now nearline storage and play it, and you can run an AI pipeline on it to make it look better on the fly. So that's sort of idea. So that's where we're going to as well.
I think it's really cool to see all the different applications that people have applied to it. So like, I know that you guys have your built-in libraries and models that you offer as a part of your GPUs, but just the raw chips themselves allow people to build what they want on top of that technology. And so we've seen companies that are building models that are specific to their industry, to their content, to their application, and they're easily able to get a lot of benefit out of that. And specifically at MediaKind, we decided to take a stab at our own upres technology as well. We were able to train it based on different types of content that we have on those GPUs, and then tested ourselves on content, and it looked okay. At first, it was kind of a frame-by-frame thing that we were doing, and we realized, okay, we need to add some extra elements to it. We need to look forward a little bit, look backwards a little bit to really like hone in on that technology. And this was something that our research team did just, kind of as a project on their own. And it's really cool to see all that technology that can be built on top of it.
Well, I think your libraries are incredible, Rich. So I think we've been able to combine small models and large models and get small models prompt the large models very seamlessly in this infrastructure. And that's been a game changer, especially the experience that we've had in the last 12 months, combining years of our investment with small models, combining them with Gen AI models in the Azure environment. It's been brilliant.
Cory, we've designed a cool interactive environment, but I have to actually get it to somebody. And Rick already said compression, so I'm glad you already jumped in because MediaKind's one of our trusted partners in the media processing and delivery space. You work closely with us on NBA, but that's really about live and high quality in the moment. It's a different tack, but it also brings in other elements you're doing, like the advertising pieces. So what does MediaKind bring to beat the buzzer to help enable this?
Yeah, so we added technology that allows you to do dynamic ad insertion on that content at specific points inside of the content that makes sense. So obviously you have your traditional pre-rolls or mid-rolls that are at a specific time, but you can use some of the new technology to auto-detect where you should insert those ad breaks so that it fits naturally inside of the content. You don't need to have somebody actually watch the video and say, okay, the ad break was at 10 minutes in, 14 minutes in, and 28 minutes in. Some of the technology that we have can decide this is the best place for the ad insertion. And then the MediaKind system will work directly with those ad partners to do server-side ad insertion and then make that content available to make money for the companies that own it. And as everybody knows, the ad ecosystem is very complex. And so, at MediaKind, we're trying to bring a very simple solution that's kind of plug and play and works out of the box that allows you to monetize that content without having to go and negotiate and integrate with each of the different vendors in the ad ecosystem, because it can be complex.
So helping reduce that complexity while still providing high quality delivery and then intelligent framing of the advertisements in the right moments.
Yeah, and we've also been looking a little bit at like newer ways to monetize the content with overlays or interactive components of the video that's not just maybe answering a poll question or playing a game on top of the video. But what we've seen is that we're able to detect content inside of the video and then potentially pop up overlays on top of it. And it's just another way outside of a traditional commercial break that you can monetize the old content that you have.
So I know in the sports space, you're doing that for like the logos at an arena, do a replacement in a different market or on a different device or some other area. It's great to see that kind of thought and technology going into this because, I mean, particularly with the vintage game shows, that's a sponsor-driven area, but there may be opportunity to bring in new sponsorships in that place.
And just to add on our side, what we're hearing from a lot of my peers on the broadcast side is local matters, right? And so this nationalization, this globalization is great, but each market needs to have a local approach. And so again, it allows us a way to tailor all those local advertisers in a way that is meaningful for the customer without being abusive.
Yeah, and I mean, because the more targeted the ad is, the higher CPM that's available to the content owner. And so if you can say, hey, I'm targeting specific regions, specific zip codes and replacing it with content that makes sense for those users, that's where you will make the most money.
Any part of it. Speaking of that money, so we've delivered an amazing interactive experience, but if I can't count how much money we made off of it, does it even matter, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the result matters, right? And not only does the result matter for your business, but the result informs really the full circular loop that we've been talking about here, right? It's impossible to have converted an entire backend library. You're starting with the known knowns, the high value, but then once you go through that chain and you get it in front of a consumer, now you really understand the net result of that. How well did they monetize? How well were they engaged, right? Is it a lean back, lean forward, or full-on engagement, real-time bidirectionally through the gamification? And through that, you learn the patterns of your own consumers. What's working? What's not? How to maximize time spent viewing? How to, increase that time? How to bring more content available? Which then, to my mind, goes back to the phase one, which is, what other content do I have that resonates with Mark, right? To really take that next step. And really, that's what we do. It's a huge amount of data. And many of us know full well that distribution is so wildly disparate right now, that bringing in hundreds of data sources there's no standardization. It's a nightmare just to get to that result and understand truth, much less use that truth to then inform your business moving forward.
Yeah. So I'm going to start us wrapping up, but I want to get a little bit of final thoughts from everybody. We'll go down the line, but before we do, and by the way, please, everybody stick around both to ask us questions and to have happy hour. We have this space until 6 o'clock, and there's a lot of food and beer over there, and I don't like standing between an audience and a beer that's been at NAB all day talking. But before I go to everybody else, Laura, like we started with you, but this kind of has to end with you. Like I wanted to show it as a working solution and what the value was, but like this is your business. Like we were just wet nurses that helped deliver this as an idea and a solution. Where do you take the baby from here? What happens?
I think for us, right, we're not a tech first business. We're a content business. Our job is to deliver a best in class customer experience through the content, right? So for us, what we're looking for is what are the right solutions with our partners to monetize. However, I think what's been really interesting from this process is that first party experience where we are best in class at the gamification, for example, is a really great way to enhance a digital stream. I think this is the cool thing is broadcast TV, has a lot of limitations because you don't have the analytics to personalize, right? Having the second screen experience in this model allows you to, I think 76% of the customers are on their phone while they're watching now, right? They are now normalized using QR codes. And so I think there's a lot of things we can start to roll out that will not compete with that main screen experience. They will be additive, right? And that's where our job can come in, where we have the production team that knows how to make this content and how to engage customers. We just needed the tools to do it. So for us, I think it's extending that second screen experience, enhancing it with additional monetization opportunities because we need them in order to roll out more content, right? I cannot do this for free. And I think from there, though, it's going to create this new community experience for some categories, like games. I spoke with the CMO of CBS yesterday, for Survivor and Got Talent and all of these shows. These are communities that people are sharing experience with. And so we want to kind of extend and expound upon that. So we're excited to take back some of our key IP formats. By the way, these travel all over the world. Got Talent is in hundreds of territories, right? And so I think when we figure this out and we can get it to a scalable place, it becomes a sustainable way that customers can now know they're going to experience. There hasn't been a way that we can scale this to have people continually engage in. But you look at Roblox and Minecraft and the way our kids, it's a community now, right? It's not a one and done game they just leave. I want to have that type of experience for our game shows. That's my high level goal after 9 months of being at Fremantle.
Cory, I'll start down on your end. Sort of, where do potentials like this go? Like we see it working, we see the value. You're obviously doing a lot of other pieces of business, but as you think about these sort of inventive monetization pieces, what's the next step at a MediaKind?
I think for us, it's just trying to understand like what brings value to our customers and what brings value to people. Like the ultimate goal of this is for people to watch the content and people to interact with the content and for people to enjoy the content. And if they enjoy it and watch it and interact with it, then there's a business behind it. And so I think, what the MediaKind team is looking to do is just continue that like tight feedback with, every step along the chain to deliver a solution like this, to see what works, what doesn't work, and then apply it to, other sources of content going forward.
And Mark, how's SymphonyAI going to help us keep track of all this data and figure out what we should be making interactive and how much are we getting paid on monetizing it?
Yeah, and I think as we gain more and more standardization, whether it be symphonies or a market-wide and industry-wide, that's preferred, but you get a better understanding for the consumer. And I was thinking through as we were talking about this, and you made a really good point around there's an opportunity here, not necessarily to have a one-on-one with engagement with the viewer, but to have a one-on-many engagement. And by that, I mean a group, right? It's a watch party environment, right? I mean, there's a ton of opportunities there. And the data can help isolate and understand when those pods are forming, understanding what has worked with those pods to keep them engaged, what they are likely to engage on next. And all of that, at the end of the day, it always amounts to time spent viewing, which in one way or another translates to revenue, whether it's programmatic ad insertion or, inventory splits. And I think the other opportunity that we have at Symphony is helping to inform the ideal commercial relationship, right? Had a conversation with a large media company just a couple weeks ago, and the conversation was around, should I do a 50-50 inventory split or should I do a revenue split? And understanding what their direct sales team is capable of relative to the programmatic environment, you can actually start making predictions which ultimately increase revenue and profitability. So there's just a lot of potential.
I think for all of these areas where we're experimenting, we're all having to think about the business model a little differently because everybody's taking a risk. It's a new idea, and so we all have to do some yoga and get flexible about how we think about it. Ramki, you're going to be extremely busy helping people go through their closets and find all of these content archives that they suddenly realize is actually gold that they've been hiding out on. What's next for Prime Focus?
Well, I think if you really look at it, I think our obsession is, there are going to be productivity gains with the usage of AI and sort of, this sort of magic that AI will sort of create. Yeah, we'll take it because it reduces the risk in customer projects because customers are going to be investing, lesser amounts of money in terms of sort of the monetization experiments. But I think our obsession is really where content meets revenue. And in that realm, we're continuing to kind of improve our tools. So historically, I think we're making some of this content decisions largely based on how creatives will make the decisions or provide that necessary handles for creatives to kind of produce this content quickly. But equally, I think we'd be investing, making our tools more robust by trying to kind of get in consumption-related data, come through to kind of make sure that the recommendations we're putting to creatives for the tools that they will create, for the content that they will create, will be more of what consumers would want to consume. And so I think while money saved is money earned, we'll take that. But I think the focus is how to help our customers kind of, increase the revenue that they would make from the rich sort of jewels that has been hidden in what we call a passive archives and our endeavor to make them active libraries.
And Rick, again, you're sort of at every piece of this, much the way Microsoft is. What's next for NVIDIA as they think about the monetization play specifically as a piece of this?
Yeah, I think this discussion was fantastic because it really illustrates, the fact that this is additive technology again. And so, Goldman Sachs just did a report. They're predicting that AI has the potential to increase global GDP by $7 trillion. That's thinking about AI in a very additive way. How can it increase our businesses? How can it help us, do more, be more profitable? All of that. And so Beat the Buzzer is just such a fun way and an innovative look at how you can do that. And so, it's just an exciting time because we're going to see a lot more of this. We're going to see a lot more interaction with content. I've got a 16-year-old as well. And, just seeing how they interact with content, how they interact with games and their phones and, it's a whole other world coming behind us here. And so it's just exciting that we have the technology that's going to be able to, engage them in ways that, we grew up with content too.
I think the last note from everything I've heard from all of my peers and then on the tech side, which has been really the fun merge of this, is the world is rebuilding, right? We're in a really disruptive stage right now, but it's such a good opportunity for us to all work together. I've never seen this many people be open, both on the studio side, the tech side, to working together, because we have to use this disruption as an opportunity to build a smarter ecosystem, especially as the ad dollars are in flux, so that we can all kind of benefit, move forward, and rebalance. So we want to keep making good content, right? But we have to know the value of it. So I'm hoping this helps us to kind of get through that period, but it's fun. Like, it's been really enlightening.
No, it's been a blast. And, you know, from the Microsoft side, this is the perfect scenario for us, where we have a lot of products that sit in Azure that are really designed for any industry. The same technology that we brought into this is used in healthcare. It's used in financial services. But we also have this ecosystem partners who come in and they bring the industry lens. They bring the media subject matter expertise. And by helping make them better at what they're able to do and leverage and coming up with new ideas, and then helping work together in an environment where we are transparent, that's where we get the opportunity to be a platform that allows something like this to thrive and to bear, so that it can be a monetizable engine for you and a practical thing, not a one-off that is hard and expensive to keep running and operational. So I just want to take another moment to sort of thank all of the parties that were involved here. I do want to call out one other. We had for the UI interface for this, UIC Digital did a phenomenal job of what they do best, which is the application side of bringing together an interactive experience and connecting it back to all of the data sources for that interactive piece. So them, Cinefilm, all the partners that are here, Allison Smith, I just thank you all for it. And thank you, Laura. You're going to get tired of me saying thank you, but it really was a lot of fun to bring it all together. So with that, I would say questions, but let's all go get a drink and then you can ask us questions while we're doing this over there. Thank you.